Joining us on the phone and via Skype is Medea Benjamin, co-founder of Code Pink and founding director of Global Exchange. Medea, it's been a couple of years, but it's great to talk to you again.
Same here, David.
I read your op-ed in the Huffington Post earlier today, and your message is pretty clear. It's now that you can join the military if you are gay or lesbian, don't do it, which is kind of interesting because it's similar to what we've been talking about for a while. Everybody should have the right to be sent to a pointless war with no end and no victory in sight, regardless of sexual orientation, right?
Yeah, and have the right to either be killed or maimed or come back with PTSD or kill and maim somebody else.
I think it's important, and I don't know how you go about this, to make clear that this is a big victory in terms of don't ask, don't tell, but it doesn't actually change how we should be scrutinizing what it is that the military is doing, right? I mean, how do you keep the things separate?
Well, that's right. I think we started the conversation saying it should be somebody's choice, and then once they have the choice, we want to encourage them not to join the military. We also shouldn't think that once gays are able to join the military that there's not sexism in the military. There will be plenty, because there has been tremendous problems with rape in the military, both of rape of women and men.
When you think about Barack Obama and what he has done in his first 2 years, assess for me, you know, there's a variety of opinions from the left about how Barack Obama has done, and I have a list of things I think are positive and a list of things I think are negative. Specifically with regard to Iraq and Afghanistan, is it what you expected, number one, and can you grade it for us?
It's not what I expected because perhaps I was naive thinking that such an intelligent man, when he got into power, would understand that increasing or continuing our presence in Afghanistan was not a good thing. I think the winding down of the war in Iraq is positive. We now have 50,000 troops in Iraq as opposed to about 130,000 troops that we had at the height of the numbers there. But that's 50,000 too many. We have to make sure that he really brings those troops home and that it just doesn't turn into a privatization of the U.S. military presence in Iraq. But so far, I would say in Iraq, I would give him a B. In terms of Afghanistan, I would say without hesitation that it's an F. The fact that we have more troops in Afghanistan now than we did under Bush is abominable. And the fact that we, the people, are being lied to continuously by these generals and by our president, acting like there is something positive that we're doing in Afghanistan, sometimes even putting it in terms of what we're doing for the women, I think is a big lie, and that we should be putting a lot more pressure on Obama and on the Congress at a time when we're in such financial crisis to stop squandering our money in a war that we can't win and instead use it to rebuild America.
You know, I see a couple of different issues in terms of how Barack Obama has handled Afghanistan. The one I don't see is that Barack Obama said that if he were to win during the campaign, he would focus on Afghanistan. Now, did we understand that to mean that there would be an extended escalation of the number of troops? No, many people would argue that wasn't it. What I am concerned with, though, is amidst concerns about spending today, it seems almost missing from the discourse. Why has the deficit gotten to the point where it's at today? And George W. Bush's name is almost not mentioned in that, and the fact that these wars started under him. When you hear the national discourse about spending, is it just military spending you're concerned about, or what else?
Well, I'm concerned about all the subsidies that we give to corporations within our present-day budget, the way it's configured. We give huge subsidies, continue to the oil and the gas industry. We have big subsidies to the entire war industry. I mean, the fact that we continue to make Cold War era weapons that we don't need and we don't even use is an example of the tremendous subsidies that we're giving to corporations. So that's a concern of mine. My concern is also these bases overseas and how they're costing us billions of dollars to maintain, and it's estimated we could save $100 billion a year if we close those bases.
You know, Congressman McKeon, from California, addressed the issue of military spending and the idea of maybe cutting that down, maybe 5-10%, which was proposed, and Republicans basically said, we're not going to do that. And he said, you know what, not only should we not be decreasing military spending, not only should it not stay the same, anything short of a continued increase to him signifies a reduction. So when I hear it said that we should be keeping everything on the table, but at the same time only increasing military spending is an option, I don't understand how those two things go together. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yes, but on the other hand, you can see the Deficit Commission, when the two co-chairs came out with their version, it did actually have some significant cuts for the military in there, including closing 1/3 of our overseas bases.
Right.
It was dead on arrival, and there wasn't even much discussion about that. And certainly you can find people both in the Tea Party and the Republican Party in general who do think that we should take a close look at the waste, fraud, and abuse within the military. But it is unfortunately not put up there number one when we talk about how we can deal with the deficit.
You know, when I want to also make clear to our audience that when I talk about the issue of military spending and, as you mentioned, closing bases or drawing down in certain countries overseas, this is not now it's become a political spectrum thing. But Donald Rumsfeld at one point wanted to do this, and both Republicans and Democrats were opposed to it. So while now it has become a very partisan thing, if we look back in history, there has been resistance from all establishment politicians to reduce military spending, has there not?
Well, yes, and I go to a lot of the congressional hearings when they're talking about the budget, and it never ceases to amaze me to see these liberal Democrats when there's some discussion where the military is actually proposing a cut in a particular weapons program, and you'll see a liberal Democrat get up and say, but we can cut that, and you're thinking of dollar signs, how the, quote, jobs in his district he doesn't want cut, but also that these guys and women are taking money from the very corporations that are making these weapons. So the weapons industry has been very savvy about making sure that they're distributing their factories in districts throughout the country so that you have Democrats and Republicans sticking up for weapons that we shouldn't be making.
Absolutely. In the last minute or two we have left here, how many times have you been arrested at this point? Do you even know the number?
I don't know. I don't really keep count of it, but I do know that the last time was on Thursday in front of the White House with the veterans, and it felt good to be in such good company.
Are you ever handled roughly, or is there ever any concern there, or have all the police you've been involved with really treated you pretty well?
Well, in the Capitol in Washington, D.C., I'm pretty well known, and the police like us and try to treat us pretty gently. But when I go to other places like Texas or Florida, I can't say the same thing.
At this point, would your record prevent you from getting a lot of different jobs if you were to apply for them, hypothetically?
Well, I couldn't get a government job, that's for sure. I can't even get into Canada at this point. And let's remember, these are all arrests, nonviolent civil disobedience. But unfortunately, in this day and age, that's not something that's well respected.
So you can't go to Canada at all?
No, I've been turned away 3 times at the border because I'm in a criminal list that the FBI has shared with the Canadian government.
That's incredible.
Yes, it is incredible. Fortunately, I can go other places around the world, but there's talk about sharing this criminal database with other countries. So it's something that we have to be very concerned about.
I'll say. We've been speaking with Medea Benjamin, co-founder of Code Pink and founding director of Global Exchange. Thanks so much for doing this today.